Good evening, and welcome. Tonight's video is 3 no-sleep stories to haunt your dreams. Story number 1.
Something lives in the apartment above me, and I don't know what to do. Written by Reddit user ZetaSilver.
So, first things first. I'm on mobile, so the formatting is gonna be a bit annoying. But I'm freaked out, so I need to type this out as soon as I can to see if maybe some of you guys can help me. I've recently moved into my first one-bedroom apartment and love it. I've always shared flats, and I guess I'm just not made for them. I've gotten a fairly well-paid job, for a uni student that is, and thought it was time to upgrade. I can do whatever the fuck I want. Walk around naked, who cares? Spend an hour in the bathroom, no one has to pee. I'm stoked, really. But there's one little disadvantage, I guess. It's loud here. The house is right next to the street, and there's quite a few people living here. Most of them are students like me, so they tend to get a little loud on the weekends. But I don't mind it much because a one-room apartment isn't the best place to party, so they usually head to the club around 11. Except for this one person. They live in the apartment right above me. I live on the first floor and they live on the second, which is the top floor. And they are wild. I can never hear them do anything throughout the day, but once it hits 11 p.m., 12 a.m., they just start doing whatever the fuck it is they're doing. Moving furniture around, walking around with super heavy footsteps, dropping stuff all the time. It's really gotten on my nerves because they don't stop until maybe 4 a.m. I figured they might work the night shift and get up at 11 p.m., but that still doesn't justify them being so damn loud. Most nights I'll sleep with earplugs. I've had noisy roommates before, so I'm used to it. But a couple nights ago, I could hear the rampage even with earplugs in, and decided something had to change. I've lived here for about a month maybe, and before that night, I just didn't want to come off as the annoying new tenant who complains all the time. But I've had enough. It was around 3 a.m. I went up and knocked on their door, but got no answer. They had to still be there because I've heard them move the chair just a few minutes ago. I knocked again and still no one replied. But I didn't hear anything, so I figured they got the message and went back down. To my surprise, I couldn't hear anything at all night. So, I was really pleased with myself. Until the following night, that was. Same shit, different day. I went up again and didn't receive an answer, but the noises stopped, so I thought whatever, and at least I tried. The next day I was about to go out for groceries when I saw my landlady in the hallway. I thought it couldn't hurt, so I asked her who lived there. She seemed a bit confused and asked if I was talking about apartment 2-1. I said yes, exactly that one. She looked at me like I had just pulled a prank on her and seemed quite annoyed. No one lives in apartment 2-1. The previous tenant moved out 3 months ago, and we still have a lot of the flooring to fix, so it'll be empty for at least another month, she said, already turning her back to me. I asked her if maybe it was the workers that made the noise, but she said no. They haven't been able to start yet because there was some kind of issue with pipes or something, and then she left. Now, one thing you should know about me is that I'm in no way brave. I'm a scaredy cat and a crybaby, so if there's something I can't explain, I get spooked really easily. I thought about what could be happening. Maybe it wasn't the apartment right above me, but the next door to it. Or maybe it came from my floor. Fuck physics, right? That night, I heard the rampage again, and instead of annoyed, I was scared now. What could that be? A raccoon? Or some other nocturnal animal? I barely slept that night, but luckily after a few hours it stopped and I was able to get at least a little sleep. The next day I decided to give the two next door neighbors to apartment 201 a visit. The right door neighbor is an old man, maybe 90 or so. I've only seen him once before, so he was surprised when he opened the door to see me. I asked him if he had ever heard anything. He said that he usually goes to sleep around 9 and takes out his hearing aid, so even if there was anything going on, he wouldn't hear it. He was very sweet and invited me in for a cup of tea, so I don't think he lied to me. Can't imagine him making much noise at night, so it couldn't have been him. The left door neighbor is a student, at least I think so. When I knocked on his door, he opened it in his boxers, but he didn't seem to mind. He said he's usually out partying around that time, but he's heard it once or twice before. He also mentioned that he didn't really care because he's not a light sleeper. When I told him that no one actually lived there, he seemed a bit spooked for a second, but then said it's probably just an animal and then he had to go now. So that didn't get me anywhere. I definitely wasn't going to investigate the apartment, so figured I might as well just ignore it and hope it gets better once the flooring is fixed and someone new moved in. But the odds were not in my favor. When I was in bed that night, I tried to think happy thoughts and just fell asleep. But I couldn't. I was so freaked out about all this. When I looked at the clock, it was around 1:30 a.m., but I hadn't heard anything. I was confused yet relieved. Maybe it was gone and I could get some sleep now. I was just about to fall asleep when I heard a single knock. But it wasn't upstairs. It was coming from my balcony door. I froze completely, but I brushed it off as my imagination playing games. Then there was a second knock. Maybe it was a bird? I sure as hell didn't want to look. The curtains were drawn and I couldn't make out a shadow. The third knock came shortly after. At that time I was sitting upright in my bed, ready to run for my life. What could I even do in this situation? Call the police? They'd just laugh at me. After like 20 minutes, I gathered up all my courage and checked the balcony. There was nothing out of the ordinary. Everything was as it had been before. I wasn't able to fall asleep all night, but at least nothing happened again. And last night, I heard it again. And this time louder. I yanked the covers over my head and tried to ignore it as best as I could. When I got up this morning, I found a handprint on my door. I should have gotten a picture of it, but I was so out of it that I just washed it off and pretended it didn't happen. And it was definitely bigger than regular handprint, but just ever so slightly, could you tell? I don't know. I'm super scared. My friend is going to sleep over today, but I don't want to know what's going to happen next. Do you have any idea of what this thing is? Is there anything I can do? Any advice at all? I have to leave for uni now, but maybe I can update this evening. Story number 2.
I'm a DJ, and I'm looking for a song I played. Written by Reddit user Tacska.
I work as a DJ at a club. It's in a mid-sized European city. I won't disclose any specific information because I don't want to put my ass on the line. But I'm pretty sure that those who know the place will recognize it. And also, I'm curious if anything similar happened in any other place of the globe. No, This club is nothing fancy, but it's open during weekdays. There's free entry, plus it's right next to the city's university. So it's always crowded enough. Uni students thrown out of the halls, but keen to carry on drinking. High schoolers who were not let in anywhere else. And creepy 40-year-old guys trying to pick up girls half their age or the usual crowd. Now, I know it doesn't sound like a dream job, DJing there, but it pays well. Easy enough, and it's sort of fun seeing whatever's going on the dance floor while making noise. And sipping a few beers on the house. Well, usually sort of fun, but occasionally pretty fucking terrifying. From time to time, we have thematic nights, which involve specific genres of music. 80s retro vibes, hip-hop stuff, or minimal. You know the likes. These are 1, usually well promoted. 2, they always tell me in advance so I can prepare the music. Now, one Wednesday, late afternoon, scrolling through Facebook, see that my workplace posted something. Poster with white background. Barely visible Japanese letters. A silhouette of a dark figure. Like a shadow. And a text saying, "Tonight only. Bright light night." In the corner, the usual. Drink promotion, logo of the place, gate opening. No, I didn't know about this, so I called my boss, asking him what the hell is going on, and more importantly, reminding him that I asked for extra for specific nights, as well as for last-minute changes. Oddly enough, he was not arguing at all, just asked me to come in a bit earlier so he can brief me. As I arrived, he handed me a flash drive, saying I should only play the songs on here. I was sort of pissed as I did not have time to listen or anything, and prepared a proper mix. And with a set track list, I felt my hands were tied. Still, I'm being paid extra, so I set up my gear and plug in the flash drive. There was only one folder. The name of it was written in Japanese characters. I really hope that it won't be some weeaboo-themed shit. But in hindsight, I would have been better playing anime intro songs all night. The songs were creatively named Track_1 and Track_2, and so on. I listened for a few seconds to each one of them. All the songs were vaguely familiar, but I didn't know where from. Neither had I had the time to wonder. The night began. People started pouring in. Initially, there was nothing out of the ordinary. Most of the songs were typical club bangers, nothing extra. And we got to Track_4. You know that feeling when you hear a song, and you subconsciously know that you've heard it before somewhere, but not for the life of you can you pinpoint where? Well, I felt exactly that. As the song proceeded, and at some point it became quieter, drums disappearing, and only a deep bass remaining. I know my way around club songs, so I knew a drop was coming. To keep the spirits up, I shouted to the crowd, "Let me hear your voice." And at that moment, I was blinded by an unbelievable brightness, something that could not have been produced by the club lights. It seemingly came from outside, bursting in through the walls. As my eyes adjusted, I shit you not, I saw no one. But a completely empty dance floor. Not a single soul. But what's even more fucked up, that I still heard them screaming. Then the drop came. Everything was back to normal. What the fuck? I was scared shitless. Yet, the night went on. Eventually, I figured some old creep spiked my drink instead of whoever his target was, so I carried on. When dawn came and we closed shop, I asked around the bartenders and the bouncers, but no one saw anything, which reinforced my theory that it was just a weird-ass trip. However, before I handed the flash drive back to my boss, I saved track _4 on my laptop. Call it a hunch. Then I forgot about the whole thing. Went home, slept through the day. A bit later, I was preparing my mix to another night. Just out of curiosity, I put track 4 in the playlist, and the same fucking thing happened. Bright lights, empty dance floor, disembodied screams, and once the drop came, everything back to the usual. Fuck me, I thought. This is not normal. I can't have the same fucking trip 2 times. At this point, I was sure that I heard the song before, and I was not alone. Friends and colleagues from the club would all say that the tune is familiar, yet none of them could tell where it was from. It was time to figure out what it was. But my efforts were fruitless. Shazam didn't find anything. I tried to upload it to YouTube, post it to forums, all that. I never managed to. I only got upload error messages and alerts stating that this upload would be copyright infringement. I theorized that it might be a not yet released hit of someone famous, which she did not want to be leaked. With Article 13 bullshit and content screening at every corner, it seemed to be a plausible, rational explanation for my failure to upload it, but not for the disappearing people. I decided that I'll do what every sane person would. Probably not do. Keep on experimenting. I played track _4, readied my phone, and turned on the camera as the drop appeared. The moment the dance floor became desolate, I snapped a pic. On my phone screen, all the people were present. I grew even more confused, but I carried on with the party. From time to time, quickly glancing at the picture. Something was off, but I couldn't really put my finger on it. Once the place closed, I showed the pic to my photographer gal. She came up with the answer immediately. It's probably your HDR sensor being fucky. Made all the shadows disappear. The people on the picture had no shadows. He carried on explaining how to recalibrate the phone camera, but I zoned out, staring at the shadowless crowd. Last Saturday was the last time I played the song. However, there's something that happened before I did. A guy who probably enjoyed pre-drinks a bit too much and was already wasted before midnight climbed up behind me and demanded a picture. I obliged, waved to my photographer buddy who came around and took the pic. Then I chased the kid away before the bouncers would. A few hours passed and I figured it was time for track _4. The usual happened. However, in those few seconds, while the floor was empty, I saw the bathroom's doors opening, and the wasted guy I took a picture with stepping out. He stared, visibly confused at the vacant space, and looked at me with terrified eyes. Then, drop, and life went on. The night ended. I went home, slept till the afternoon, and I woke up. The song was gone. I was unable to turn on my laptop. The IT guy said that my hard drive became encrypted and rambled on about some new ransomware. The laptop is still working, but I had to reformat the HDD. So all that was there is lost, including track _4. I asked my boss about the flash drive he had the song on, but he said he lost it. Track _4 was nowhere to be found. However, the song was not the only thing that disappeared without a trace. Scanning through the news this morning, I saw a missing persons report. The guy whom I took the picture with The guy who walked out of the bathroom the wrong moment and witnessed what I also did. I quickly went to the Facebook page of my workplace, and I saw pictures from Saturday night uploaded. I found the one which was taken of me and the guy, except it was only me on the picture. Yet, I looked closer. Indeed, I was the only person on the pic. However, there were two shadows. Story number 3.
My skin doesn't fit anymore. Written by Reddit user Yuebeo.
It started out small. Just a little patch above my left pinky. You know how on your knuckles you can move and squish the skin? It was like that, but more. I could pull a little patch of skin several inches suddenly. It didn't hurt or anything. It actually felt kind of good. Soothing almost. Anytime I got stressed, I would find my fingers running over the loose, stretchy skin. Playing with it, folding it, molding it to my heart's content. Then one morning, it happened. I was getting ready for work and pulling my socks on when I felt a weird shift on my foot. Confused, I pulled my sock off, only for my heart to skip a beat. The skin that once hung from the bottom of my foot now sagged loosely. I reached my hand down and touched it. Chills shot through my body. Feeling was unreal. I grabbed onto the loose skin and began tugging at it, pulling up closer to calves. I cried out in pain and joy. I wanted more. The next few days, I stayed held up in my home. Nothing mattered except the exquisite joy of my skin clinging loosely to my body. Some parts seemed to dangle on their own accord. Some I pulled loose. I preferred the ones that I pulled. It felt more intimate and exciting. I felt more limber and full of energy than ever. I could reach parts of my body like never before. Even if I couldn't reach it at first, I would just begin pulling at the nearby flesh until it released, sending orgasmic bolts through my body. I truly wish I could explain how it feels during the release. Eventually, my worst fear came true. I had nothing left to pull off. I was disfigured and horrifying. My skin hung limply from my skeleton. My face was a disgusting mess of flesh drooping several inches from where it once was. I could no longer talk or express myself properly, as everything was so loose. That didn't matter though. All that mattered was finding a way to regain the pleasure of release again. I began pulling at every inch, trying to find a piece that hadn't yet been released, but to no avail, until I felt a icy prick of release return. Not like it was before though. Different, even better. Upon investigation, I found the source of this pleasure. A tear. A rip in my own flesh. No blood came out though. It was just an open hole where my skin had once been solid. I pulled at it again, ripping it open just a little bit further. Almost passed out from the pleasure I felt. This was it. This was what I had been searching for. Tugging and pulling, folding and stretching, I kept working at the hole. Feeling was divine as the hole grew from only a few centimeters to a few inches and further. It began to resemble more of a creature maw as I worked my fingers deep inside, tearing away. I moaned louder and louder as I felt my body give out under the waves of pleasure. I needed to keep pulling and tearing, ripping deeper into the soft pink flesh that once was so tight against me. After many hours, possibly days, I ripped the last bits. My once tight flesh laid at my feet in ribbons. I felt so alone now, my raw muscles twitching against the cold air. The pain of each step as the nerves of my feet stepped over my shredded parts and hit the hardwood floor again. I stared at the mirror in disbelief of what I had just done to myself. I was unrecognizable. Just raw meat in the shape of a human now. What was I supposed to do? I did the only thing I could truly think to do. I reached up and began to pull at my face, hoping to find a new, deeper release. Digging my fingers deep into that red muscle. Please, someone, help. I want to feel that release again. And that's the video, guys. Thank you for watching, and remember to check the description for links to the respective authors of these stories. And a big thank you to them for allowing me to narrate them. And have a good night.